Let's have a look at the police situation, because now again, actually tomorrow these polls are going to be having a look, I think, at the Treaty Principles Bill. So again, we will probably have a look at that, because that polling, asking New Zealand what they think about today, about the Treaty Principles Bill, and if it should or shouldn't be brought into the government, that's again interesting. This one is interesting because they're talking about how New Zealanders feel today based on what Marck Mitchell said when he promised to basically resign if people weren't safer. So let's have a look what they'd say.
Law and order has been a big focus for this government, and the Police Minister, Marck Mitchell, even staked his career on the public feeling safer. So we tested the mood of the public and asked them that very question. For more on that, here's senior political reporter Benedict Collins.
I think, Doc, just to say poo-poo to these polls one more time, I actually don't even know why they do the seats in the House one. That's actually the not interesting part of these polls. This is interesting. The Treaty Principles Bill, that's interesting. You know, they'd have 57 seats. Well, but they're not going to. It's not an election. That's the uninteresting part. I wonder if they get forced into a situation where they have to do them because every other media organisation does it, so they just have to. Get over yourselves. Poll some interesting stuff.
The police bringing an end to a joyride for a big bunch allegedly breaking the law in Auckland yesterday. This government promised they'd crack down on crime.
Harder on crime is it's a political trick. I feel safe.
Crime is rife in this country.
I don't think that there's been a significant drop in crime at all. There's been an increase in police presence in a lot of places.
In our One News variant poll, we asked if people felt safer as a result of the government's law and order policy.
So before we show it, what do we think, Chewie? Are people going to feel safer? Are people going to feel less safe? Are people not going to feel any different? Where would you put your vote?
I don't think there's been any dramatic change.
Yeah, that's what I'd say.
I think they're pointing out the foot patrols. Yep, cool. Police are more visible twice a day when they go to get a coffee at the mall, and it counts as a foot patrol. But I mean, I bring up a case from here in New Zealand. Here in Dunedin.
Yeah,
a kid got mugged for his wallet, shoes, and phone on the steps of the Dunedin police station. He was screaming for help. Nobody came to help him. No one would open the doors because it was outside of hours. The police station.
Sheesh. All right, we'll keep going and see how New Zealand does feel. So I'm with you. There's been no change. That's how I would feel.
These, just over a quarter felt more safe. 13% felt less safe. The majority, though, felt the government had made no difference at all.
So if a police minister is going to say, I stake my reputation on it, if New Zealanders don't feel more safe, I will resign. Do you think he's going to go, well, 26% of them do, so people feel, or do you think he'd be talking about the majority feeling more safe? Because I would say this would be a fail. Because what it actually is it's a 13% increase if you go between more safe and less safe. So it's plus 13 for that. And I would say that's not the result that you know, if you were in a commercial setting that this national government keeps likening things to, if it was in a business setting and your result was plus 13 when you were going to say New Zealand will be safer, I think you're out on your ear. What do you think he'll be? Do you think he'll be happy with that?
Oh, I think he'll try and spin it somehow. He'll pull some obscure stat to justify him staying in his job because that's what they do.
Well, let's find out, shall we?
I think this is an example of why you shouldn't set some performative nonsense as a target to reach by the end of the year, because there's so much that's not in your control.
Yeah,
you know, how many promises? Oh, we'll have this amount of cops by this time. Are we going to do it? Well, nobody thinks we can, but we're going to say that we are anyway. It's just nonsense.
This news article accuses Marck Mitchell of gaslighting. They actually say he's gaslighting because he is, because exactly what they're talking about, the whole police numbers, is obviously not going to happen. And he says it is still going to happen. And they accuse him of, I mean, like, you talk about maybe your media, the news media needing to be sort of more neutrally focused, but also, you know, you also call bullshit when it's bullshit. That's all right. We'll keep going.
The police minister vowed to resign if the public didn't feel safer after a year in the job. 69% don't. So, will he step down?
No, I've been very clear about the fact that that we've actually seen some good success this year.
The opposition doesn't see it so favourably.
New Zealanders generally don't feel safer. That could be because there's fewer police officers and now more gang members.
Is 26% a pass?
Or it could just be, or it could just be that it's exactly the same, and some people are buying into the bullshit from within the media sometimes with those guys on the street. Oh, it's much more dangerous. Yeah, it's not. Statistically, it's actually safer, even if there are more gang members, quote unquote.
I was just going to say, I think because remember the terms of that poll. Do you feel safer?
Yeah.
You know, not have you seen more police? Have you seen more crime? It's do you feel safer?
Yeah.
And do you know what I think is the biggest driver on that feeling?
It's a politician in the media. Yeah.
What news outlets do you follow?
Yeah.
Like that's been shown to be the case overseas, right? Like the US news, if it leads, it bleeds. Same sort of thing here. Like if you watch the news media, you'd say every town in New Zealand is crawling with gang violence.
Yeah.
You know, every teenager with a hoodie is 5 minutes away from a ram raid.
Unless it's a BHN hoodie, then you're an angel. We already know that.
Yeah, no, they're good. They're proven.
Yeah. But I always use that example about in South Central Los Angeles, the Michael Moore Bowling for Columbine documentary, where he's on the corner where Rodney King got beaten up. And if you believe the media, it would be the most dangerous place in the world to be. But it's a leafy, tree-lined street. And he's talking to an academic. And the academic says all violent crime is down. Coverage of violent crime is up 600%, which is exactly what you're saying. That's the stat from in that documentary. Yeah. And I'll put on top of the coverage of violent crime, I'll put on top of that as well what the politicians are telling their voters. So it's not, I think that's a part of it as well. And remember, this government, this current government, for the 1 to 2 years before they became government, was convincing the public how dangerous this place was. And so now guess what? The people believe this place is dangerous, and therefore you've been hoisted by your own petard, quite literally, that they are now saying, well, you've been telling us for 2 years this is really dangerous, so I feel like it's more dangerous. So now their objectives to make New Zealanders feel safer is almost impossible, in part based on their own rhetoric. Because kind of that's that sort of part of it.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the story.
There's fewer police officers and now more gang members.
Is 26% a pass mark in your eyes?
No.
Well, it's good. I'm pleased that 26% of Kiwis do feel...
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt again. It's not 26%, it's 13%, because 13% feel less safe and 26% feel safer. So that's actually plus 13, right? Forget the neutrals, it's 13%.
Eyes.
Well, it's good. I'm pleased that 26% of Kiwis do feel safer, but it just indicates, like I keep saying, is we've got a lot more work to do.
Yesterday it was revealed 2 youth offenders, fresh out of the government's boot camp, went on a crime spree with knives and machetes.
I mean, that is awful.
Has the offending at the weekend...
Did you get that, people? It wasn't just they escaped or they ran away. They went on a crime spree with knives and machetes. They went to a location, they armed themselves with knives and machetes and went on a crime spree. These are graduates of this government's way to handle serious youth offenders. At the end of it, the graduates went on a crime spree with machetes and with knives.
Yesterday it was revealed 2 youth offenders, fresh out of the government's boot camp, went on a crime spree with knives and machetes.
I mean, that is awful.
Has the offending at the weekend of the boot camp participants turned the boot camp pilot into a failure?
No, absolutely not. These are some of our toughest, most serious, persistent young offenders.
Is the Minister for Children too close to these offenders? I mean, last week when they absconded, she said, they've just gone through, they've lost a friend, that they're upset. And yet they've gone out, armed themselves and gone out on a crime spree.
Good Lord.
I mean, she seems to be excusing their behaviour.
No, that's not what's happening here.
This poll was taken before police revealed they're not on track to deliver the 500 new cops in 2025 as promised.
I'm confident that it will be in 2026.
No, they haven't said that. They said that the funding takes them through to June 2026. The target has always been very clear that we have aimed for 25th November to deliver those 500 police officers.
The police minister now gaslighting the public on police numbers.
So, so let's just look at that one piece again, because the new police commissioner says no, we'll get to 500 in 2026, and then Marck Mitchell says no, that's not what he said. This is the literal definition of gaslighting. What he said was, so this is, we'll watch it one more time.
In 2025 as promised.
I'm confident that it will be in 2026.
I'm confident it will be 500 additional police officers will be in 2026.
No, they haven't said that. They said that the funding takes them through to June 2026. The target has always been very clear that we have aimed for 25th November to deliver those 500 police officers.
The police minister now gaslighting the public on police numbers. Benedict Collins.
I mean, like, I know there's going to be a whole bunch of, you know, various platform-based conversations going on about how the media, the news media should be neutral. It's like, yeah, but if you're overtly lying, if you're standing there saying this rain that I'm catching here in my hand is dry, then actually the news media needs to go, no, it's wet. No, you're wrong. It's dry. This pool of water in my hands from the rain, that's dry. Yeah, no, sorry, Minister, that's wet. You're wrong. That's also a part of the news media, Chewie.
I mean, that's a hysterical thing to even just fucking try. Of like, no, that's not what he said. Oh, so you're going to say that to the people with the digital recordings? And you're just like that. That should be the next step. Is that the reporter goes, oh well, no, hang on, I'll just look it up on my phone. See, look, you're wrong. You know, Marck Mitchell's terrible. I mean, with these promises of police numbers, who do you believe? A politician or the police commissioner who is operationally more involved with gaining police officers and seeing what he's losing and that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Like, I know the guy's new in the job, and we don't know much about him. Well, at least I don't much about him. But I trust his numbers and his goals more than I trust Marck Mitchell going, oh, yeah, that thing that he said, no, you heard it wrong. He didn't.
Yeah.
He said that I was right all the time, and I'm the best police minister that there's ever been in history.
Maybe he doesn't. Maybe it's not that he doesn't worry that they've got recording equipment. Maybe he thinks they don't have editing equipment, so he can't put them side to side. Maybe he thinks that. So it's not about the recording. It's about he wasn't aware that they could then get the two comments side by side. Maybe that's what it's about.
That would be the next best thing, would be to split screen it. And just show people like, oh, the Marck Mitchell says that we heard this wrong, and here it is, playing in split screen, and then we go back to Marck Mitchell saying that we're wrong again.